me under your wing, crack of thunder as the wild birds sing. You can hear hunger crying out, a sonic echo that leaves no room for doubt. All the shots bring it back to what it's like. Make a move, do we do? As the world cries tears in our hands, are we all part of a bigger plan? All the shots bring it back to what it's like. Deepest oceans, they can't portray enough empty spaces, time to rust and dust. There's no wonder left for us to love. No warmth or shelter, just satellites above. All the shots bring it back to what it's like. Make a move, do we do? As the world cries tears in our hands, are we all part of a bigger plan? All the shots bring it back to what it's
Hello race fans and welcome to the World Touring Car Series live from Barber Motorsports Park in Birmingham, Alabama. My name is Peter Mackay and joining me tonight here on RaceSpotTV is Nolan Rempel. Tonight we go touring car racing, 3 sprint races, and I for one am very excited. Nolan Rempel, how about you, my friend?
It is going to be a barn burner of a race. This is far from the easiest track to overtake on the iRacing service, but if there's one thing we've seen about this series, these drivers and these touring cars, they don't seem to care about that factor. They have been able to provide us with exciting action week after week. I'm expecting this week to be no different.
Absolutely. Well, we've gone past the midpoint of the season, round 7 of 12 here at Barber Motorsports Park, and we've got a packed 3 weeks coming up. We head to Sebring International Raceway next week, so plenty of drivers will be getting some tips from this week's Super Sebring weekend, hopefully. Then we go on to the Hungaroring near Budapest. Then it's Mid-Ohio, Silverstone National and Daytona Road Course for the final round at the end of April. At the moment, well, what a titanic championship tussle we have. Ross McFarlane leads the way for Pure Sims Esports, but Corentin Guinez for Corson Racing is right behind him, and they hold a reasonable advantage back to Ash Sutton, up to 3rd place in the points, showing his skill behind the wheel in the sim, as he does in the real world as well. Kieran Harrison isn't too far away either, in 4th place, with Wojciech Savidovic in 5th. Carl Janssen sits in 6th, with Oscar Mangan, Michael Avdoka, David Baker and Fraser Smith rounding out the top 10 in the pro standings. In the AM standings, well, it's a lot closer. Tom Dadswell leads the way with Neil Butler sitting in 2nd, Jake Blackhall in 3rd, Danny Lee in 4th, and Ben Gregory rounds out the top 5 in the AM standings. In the team standings, it's very close indeed. We have Pure Sims Esports leading the way by virtue of their lead driver, Ross McFarlane, leading the Drivers' Championship, but Corsim Racing, they're right there on the case and have been absolutely dominant in qualifying in race 1. Majors Garage FSR Audi, they sit in 3rd, a little bit further off, but by far the top AM team. Corsim Racing Black are in 4th, and Semper Racing round out the top 5. Now, Barber Motorsport Park is a beautiful venue in Alabama and used for many different series, Grand Am, IndyCar and Moto America over the years. But it's not the easiest track to get on with, and our very own Paul Smith has given us a very handy guide to show you the right way around. Check it out.
Hello everybody, welcome along to round number 7 of the World Touring Car Series at Barber Motorsports Park. I'm Paul Smith from Team Mad, and in just a short while I'll be giving you a bit of a look at this track. But, well, what can I tell you about it? Based on the outskirts of Birmingham, Alabama, 2.3 miles in length, 24 metres in elevation change as well. Plenty for the drivers to think about around here. And it's so easy to make a simple mistake and it will cost you a lot of time. The final third of the lap, really tricky to get right, and you can lose a lot of time through there. There are a few overtaking opportunities to be had around here as well. So do expect a bit of action out there. And of course, this track, it hosts a round of the NTT IndyCar Championship and formerly hosted the IMSA Prototype Challenge as well. So what's it like to do a hot lap? Well, let me show you, shall I? Okay, what's it like to do a hot lap around here? Let's have a look at this. Get your line right through the final corner. Keep it over to the right hand side here as we go over the start finish line. Look out for your brake marker. Between the 2 and the 1, into turn 1 it's downhill braking, then back uphill for this long sweeping right-handers turns 2 and 3. Plunge back down and then uphill again. It's a real roller coaster through turn 4. Over to the right hand side, we've got a downhill braking, so you've got to be careful with this. Down into here, into the hairpin. This is the favourite overtaking spot around here. That's through turn 5. Now heading down towards turn 6. Really tricky chicane. Downhill. Got to get it right. Use all the curb. Don't use that curb on the right on the final part. It'll push you wide. You got to get the run out of here. Get it over to the right-hand side for this first chicane. Flat out chicane. Aim for the curb. Aim for the curb. Over to the right again for the second chicane. Just before the one. Onto the brakes, down a gear. Onto the brakes again. Using a little bit of the curb. Careful that the car doesn't push too far wide. And then this long sweeping end to this lap. Down to second gear. Want to keep it a little bit tight to get it over to the right hand side. The final corner. It's not a perfect lap by any means, but still not a bad one. So we come across the line, and that is a relatively hot lap of Barber Motorsports Park here. It is a full-on track. You've really got to be on it around here. There's a lot of time to be gained through these corners, and this is where you'll see some of the drivers being able to adapt quicker than some others, but there are overtaking opportunities around here. So hope you all enjoy today's races, and I'll see you next time.
Thank you, Paul. Well, nothing changes much here in the World Touring Car Series. A 1-2-3 lockout for Core Sim Racing. Carl Janssen, the Super Swede, on pole by just 0.04 of a second from Corentin Guinez, with Kieran Harrison right there in third. Wojciech Suvidovic will roll off from fourth, with Jake Blackhall and Ross McFarlane rounding out the top six. Seventh on the grid will be the first of the Hondas, Jack Sedgwick, with David Baker, Michael Polishek and James Cork running out the top 10. Pete Newman will start from 11th, with Mickey Doble in 12th. Nico Garcia will roll off from 13th, with Fraser Smith in 14th, and Paul Smith in the new Veloster up to 15th. Great qualifying from Paul. Jamie Rushworth will start 16th, followed by Dan Murray and Dean Powell. Craig Williams will start from 19th, followed by Ben Gregory, Mark Fletcher, Michael Avdoka, Andy Shield and Danny Lee. Then it's Neil Butler, Elliot Roberts, Lee Berridge, Simon Field, Dan Robbins and Ashley Beard. And finally, our final two cars, John Roberts and Ellis Stevens, also in the new Hyundai Veloster. So the drivers taking their positions now on the grid here at Barber Motorsports Park. The passion project of George Barber, a local property investor and family dairy business owner, and he put a lot of his wealth into this facility, home to the world's largest collection of motorcycles. And you can tell it's a circuit built with motorcycles in mind. None other than John Surtees was involved in the design of this very track, and still hosts the Motor America series. There's Carl Janssen taking his spot on the front row of the grid. The revs begin to rise. And off we go. We're racing in Birmingham, Alabama. Down towards turn one they go. Trying to get a clean launch, so difficult in these front wheel drive machines. About 350 horsepower to get through those two narrow front tyres, not easy. But the Core Sim Racing Triumvirate have certainly got a good getaway. But Wojciech Suvidovic, they're in fourth position in the white and orange Hyundai, trying to break into that stronghold at the front. But it's Janssen and Guinez that have got away clean.
And a very clean start throughout the field, all the way down in towards turn number 3. Suvidovic going to be trying to have to fight with Kieran Harrison here to get past into the core 1, 2, 3, but also having to defend from new points leader Ross McFarlane in the Pure Sims 127 right in behind. And so far, the Elantras do seem to be where it is at on the field. It is a Hyundai Elantra 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6.
See Paul Smith there really getting his elbows out in the number 33 Team Mad Hyundai Veloster, making a mid-season change to the newly arrived machine there. Actually in the model line behind the Hyundai Elantra, but it's been brought to the iRacing platform in the last week or so. So Paul really gelling with that new car already. You can see one of the team, the full send cars as well, switching over to the Hyundai Veloster there as well. And already a little bit of arty-barty as they come through turn 14 and 15 to keep the to complete the opening lap. But over the line to begin with, it's Carl Janssen from Cornton-Guinness, from Kieran Harrison. 1, 2, 3. Wojciech Swiderowicz in 4th. Ross McFarlane in 5th as they come through to this beautiful swooping and swailing section and through these 1, 2 and 3 corners here. Very nice indeed.
Oh, and you can see Jamie Rushworth muscling Mickey Doble off course, and a bit of contact with Udoka as well as they go up and over the hill. A 4 down for the hairpin at turn 5. Jamie Rushworth forces his way ahead in the battle for 14th, 15th, and 16th place. Rushworth will try to put that Audi RS3 LMS a bit closer. Was the top 10. It's a big crash in turn 5 as well. Lee Barrage has had a huge off at the turn 5 hairpin. Andy Shield also went up with him in the 007.
Oh dear, not a good way to start the day, getting stuck in the kitty litter. We've got 3 20-minute sprint races here at Barber Motorsports Park. This will be the only race where the drivers start in their qualifying order. Let's get another look at it there. There's Berridge on the inside in the Hyundai, and oh, just loses it on the brakes and takes Andy Shield with him in the 3M Honda. That's game over for this opening race.
See some drivers power sliding up and over the top of the hill into turns 13 and 14, and it is not by far an easy task to pass this track, but Mark Fletcher doing good work trying to put that Ace Attack Sim Sports and Altitude Esports machine up where it needs to be. On board with Dean Powell in the turn machine as he went off course just for a brief moment at turn 15 in that final corner. This is all the battle for the 20th place. Benjamin Gregory in the 113 standing between Dean Powell and a top 20.
Yeah, Dean Powell just thought he was maybe going to sneak a little nose up the inside there, but the door was shut quite quickly from Gregory. Kieran Harrison's got the early pace so far, a 129.713. His teammate Carl Janssen, your race leader, just 3 thousandths of a second slower on that last lap. That is how close and how tight it is at the front of the field, and also how hot the pace is. And interestingly, the Corsim Racing trio at the front, they've dropped quite a gap to Swiderowicz already, Nolan. 7/10 of a second back from Harrison in 3rd to Swiderowicz in 4th.
Sometimes you get the tracks where you're better at. Looks like this is a very much core sim racing track. There you see Alex Neller breaking past the 27 of Dean Powell. That was through turn 7B, out through the S's, the downhill S's, and now they're both going to go off course on the exit of turn 10. Joins back on. That's already been a very common mistake that a lot of drivers have been making here so far tonight, Peter. Just go around it a bit too wide through that high-speed turns 9 and 10 left-right flicks. You have to wonder if maybe these drivers are putting a bit too much faith in those front wheels to carry them on the high-speed corners, as that's one of the Craig setup shop Hondas that's off.
I think that might well have been Craig Williams who's lost it there in the number 78 Honda. Elliot Roberts, I do apologise to Elliot Roberts, tumbling down the timing screen. So not a good start there for the Honda driver. So at the moment it's Hyundai Elantras from 1st to 5th position. The first of the Hondas, Jack Sedgwick, in 6th position in the number 10 Craig Setup Shop Honda Civic Type R.
I mentioned right before we actually went live here, Peter, about how I was thinking about how this track is not necessarily a touring car track, right? And it's particularly because of the elevation change. These are front-wheel drive cars, which makes it that much slower. You have to travel around through these corners, especially if you're coming up and over a crest or if you're in a downhill braking zone. I think that is what is catching a lot of these drivers out, right? Turn 10, very easy to run wide there if you hop over the curbs. Turn 13s and 14, we've seen a few people going off there. That's because that is over in a decreasing radius corner, up and over a crest. That is by far one of the worst possible combinations in a front-wheel drive touring car. Same situation in turns 2 and 3. And again, this is a track unlike anything that we've raced so far throughout this season. And I think the challenges of this track in particular are catching quite a few people out.
Seems so. Well, this is certainly an ominous sight for rivals of the Corsim Racing team. A flying formation of 3 Corsim Racing Hyundai Elantras just pulling away a little bit at the front of the field. This has really airs of the ProDrive Ford Mondeos in the year 2000 in the British Touring Car Championship, when they had 3 cars just dominating the field, and arguably the most sophisticated touring cars ever made, certainly this side of the DTM. But Swiderowicz, he's still trying to hang on, he's still trying to keep that gap as close as he possibly can, and McFarlane right behind Savinovich as well, be hoping to try and make a place up as well and not give away too many points to Corns and Guinness. But this is the kind of paradox of the World Touring Car Series, because you know, we've seen Corson Racing absolutely dominate qualifying, we've seen them dominate race 1, but we see Ross McFarlane leading the championship, and that, Nolan, is due to the fact that, of course, race 2 and 3 we have reverse grids, and it's just been the fact that Ross McFarlane has managed those reverse grids so much better.
You may be good for one race, but if you can't pull it together for the other two, then you're not going to get very far, and that is what Ross McFarlane has been able to do. He has just been on fire when it comes to those reverse grid races. The fact of the matter is, we've had some pretty large reverse grids as well, which obviously puts those core drivers much further back than they might like, and we've seen even a couple of times. I mean, we look back to just a couple of weeks ago, right, when you even had Guinness being knocked off course along with Carl Jansen a couple of times throughout those reverse grid races. The fact of the matter is, they just cannot find luck in those reverse grid races. They keep on getting hit off the track. They keep on getting muscled out of line. They're very, very good, but it seems that tends to be more of a case, you know, when they don't have a whole lot of competition to contend with. And then, of course, reverse grids come up, everything changes. All of a sudden, everybody's wanting to battle with those drivers because they know those are the guys that you need to beat if you want to consider yourself successful in this series so far.
Great battle going on for the leaders in the AM Championship at the moment. You can see on our timing screen on the left-hand side of your picture, we have green numbers for the Pro Class drivers, blue numbers for the AM Class drivers. So your leader in AM at the moment is the number 97 Hyundai, Jake Blackhall, who has Michael Polishek and James Corp right behind him. Polishek making the move, actually says Audi there, but he's moved across to the Hyundai. So it's Blackhall from Polishek from Corp. Corp in the Honda Civic Type R in 10th position. So it's 3 AM drivers up there in the top 10. And it's interesting, Nolan, I marked this one on the calendar for this particular race as being a real kind of an unknown, a wild card event also, because we've done a lot of, you know, much more familiar circuits so far in this series, but Barber Motorsport Park is not a track where the drivers get an enormous amount of mileage in competitive conditions, so we could see some, you know, some interesting results being thrown up here tonight.
I think it's going to be even more apparent when we get around to those reverse grid races, because obviously race 1 is usually very, very orderly. It's very predictable as to how that race is going to go. We've been seeing these trends start to form throughout the season. Races 2 and 3, that is where everything really, really starts to kick off. And here's one of the Audis in the field, Michael Evdoka, running at 15th place, trying to keep close to his Pure Sims teammate. Both of them running the pair of Audi RS3 LMSs, and they're trying to see if they can't get around the full send racing driver of Mikel Garcia in the Hyundai Veloster. Of course, the Veloster being one of the newest cars on the iRacing service altogether, put out just a couple of weeks ago in the 2022 Season 2 build, and Mikel Garcia looking to make good use of that car to put itself up into the top 10 in this field. And interestingly enough, I do believe that Veloster that we're seeing right there, that is the highest Veloster we've got in the field so far today.
It is indeed, yeah, 13th place for Mikel Garcia at the moment. So the Veloster, just a slightly different kind of setup to the Elantra. The Elantra, the newer model, if you like. The Elantra, slightly longer wheelbase, more sedan-like, whereas the Veloster much more kind of hatchback style. The slightly shorter wheelbase, so slightly different handling characteristics of those two machines. So maybe just more personal preference to feel what's different between those two machines. And then right behind, you've got the old warhorse, the original TCR here on the iRacing platform, the Audi RS3 LMS. Of course, we've seen a brand new version of that car come out in the real world. It was taking part in the Dubai 24 Hours back in January. So I wonder if we'll see an update on that car perhaps in due course.
It's still a very processional race, a very single file. You can even see on the positions gained on the left-hand side of your screen, there's not been a whole lot of movers in the top 13. You know, you'll obviously have Jake Blacko, who's dropped 3, and that's put 3 pro drivers up 1. But other than that, it has been very, very orderly. It's really about 15th on back where you really start to see the changes. But you got Evdaka plus 15 so far on the day. Neil Butler is going to be plus 7 for himself. And you got yourself a lot of these drivers who are going to be trying to make bigger moves. I know Alex Neller has moved up 11 spots. I believe he has gained the most spots out of anybody so far in this race, but he is still sitting all the way back in 22nd place. So it's really the back half of the field where things are all still kicking off. And the top 14 or so, the top 10 are all going to be remaining, for the most part, single file, it would seem. But of course, we know where that's all going to shake up. That'll be in about 10 minutes time when we figure out who's going to be started on pole with the reverse grid.
Absolutely so, yes. Now, while we have a moment, I'd like to have a huge shout out and a big virtual hug from everyone at RaceSpot to Dan Holland. Unfortunately, Dan, normally one of our stalwarts of the championship, sadly is under the weather in hospital at the moment. So his teammates on their Hyundai Elantras have put a little get well soon message, and we echo that here at RaceSpot TV. We really miss you out there on track, Dan, and hopefully it won't be too long till we see you back out there and racing again. So get well soon, and hope you enjoy the action in the meantime.
Hopefully he'll be back up and ready to go again for, if not in the next race, then the one after that, when it's the final future race on the weekend. Whoa! The 111 just got sent into the S's.
Would that qualify as getting lent on? I think that's getting lent on and then shoved for good measure. Wow. And, well, full light flash engaged there from Mark Fletcher, and you can kind of see why. Now, let's get a look. It was one of the Hondas. Oh, goodness me. T-bone steak.
So it looks to me like what happened there was Alex Neller. Yeah, Neller tried to go for a move into the S's. He was trying to follow through Benjamin Gregory, who just made up a spot. Fletcher tried to shut the door, not expecting for Neller to dive bomb like that down into the S's. And unfortunately, Neller pinched him in a bit too much to the second part of the S's. I turned 7A. 7B, though, is where it all compounded, because a little bit of contact made at 7A just shoved Fletcher into Neller, right into the apex of 7B, sending the 111 around.
Oh, contact there with Paul Smith in the 33 Hyundai Veloster, and that's given a little loss of momentum there for Craig Williams in front. And look, here comes Craig. Whoa, a little bit of bumping and barging now coming into the braking zone. Oh, dear me, it turned Craig Williams into a bit of a yellow and blue Honda-shaped bowling ball there, but they somehow all get through relatively unscathed. And here comes Fletcher. Fletcher's not going to be happy at all. Already a winner in this championship, and he's now right on the back of Neller's Honda there, and he's not going to take any mercy. He's going to be out for blood, and right there shows a little nose to the quarter panel there, putting Neller under pressure. This is great stuff in the midfield.
Now, don't forget, Race Control is also going to be keeping an eye out for rule breakers in tonight's race, of course. They've been mentioning things have been getting a little bit out of hand, and that is why we don't see Ollie Peacock or Daniel Rowbottom on the grid. They both were served up with 2-week parking tickets for unsportsmanlike conduct, so they're not here tonight. And they even warned these drivers that they are not going to be tolerating any intentional wrecking. So if Fletcher wants to go after him, he's got to do it the right way to make sure that it flies under the radar.
Yeah, that's an excellent point, Nolan. The stewards really have they've put a stamp down on bad sportsmanship and bad driving, and rightly so. All of the World Sim Racing League products pride themselves on that close but hard racing, but fair as well. So, but this battle in the midfield. Very intense indeed. Now there is a little bit of allowance for touring car racing. Touring car racing is a little bit of rubbing and barging here and there, but there is a very fine line to cross as Paul Smith defends his position in the 33 Hyundai Veloster, and Alex Neller has a little wiggle to the side there, and they're going to go 3 wide down towards turn 7. This does not fit, that's for sure. Oh! Smith in the middle. Now who's in that 38? Oh, it's all a mess. Oh, it's all a mess.
And Alex Neller takes out another one. The number 67 Honda is on a warpath right now, trying to get through, trying to fight up into the top 20. He's up to 21st now. And Tom Dadswell somehow, in the mix of all of that chaos, managed to squeak his way through. And you can see Smith still going to be looking a bit angry, trying to see if he can't make something work in his Hyundai Veloster to try to make something work. The two teammates for the team, for the turn team, going to be going side by side. Dean Powell and Danny Lee switching places at the head of the train. Mark Fletcher also trying to find a way through on the number 67 Honda. You're going to see right there, Fletcher comes back on, and Alex Neller comes back on, just wipes out Paul Smith. Good save though from the number 33.
Yeah, I think Paul Smith's been getting some tips on saving a slide in a front-wheel drive car from his teammate Tyler Maxson, who got pole position for the IMSA Pilot Challenge race at Sebring today. So well done to Tyler Maxson. He's sadly not here for this race, but because he's busy racing at Sebring in the outdoor world. So, you know, he's been given a few pointers to teammate Paul Smith here in the World Touring Car Series. But yeah, it's a strange way that if you plant the throttle, it sometimes can bring the nose of the car back into line a little bit. So Alex Neller not making any friends whatsoever in this opening race of the day. And it seems to be that the action is kind of focused around the corkscrew there at turns 7A and B.
It is, I believe, where one you can be a bit condensed when it comes to the field, because you're constantly on the brakes, you're flicking the car to the right, then back to the left, then back to the right again for a hairpin, all in a downhill braking zone when your front end is trying to lift off the ground where the driven wheels are. It is a touring car nightmare throughout turns 7 to 8, and I'm surprised we haven't been seeing more incidents there throughout the course of the race, but I can almost guarantee you we're going to be seeing a couple of more before the night is certainly over. Taking a look at Danny Lee, who was really applying pressure to Mark Fletcher as we hit 2 to go in race number 1.
So the fastest lap now has gone to the number 6 Hyundai Elantra of David Baker, who sits in 7th position at the moment. Carl Janssen, your race leader still, with his teammates Guinness and Harrison right behind in flying formation. But as far as the championship's concerned, this will be a little win for Corentin Guinness. He sits in second, the closest challenger to Ross McFarlane. So Guinness will score points for second, McFarlane back in 5th. But this is only just one part of the story. This is like the kind of interlude to the real thick of the race evening. It's all about race 2 and 3 when we go into the reverse grid encounters. That is where the points, gains and losses come into play. But for Coursim Racing, Nolan, they've got to be absolutely delighted with this run so far as they head to take the white flag.
But how many times have we seen this, right? Core tends to rocket away in the first race. They'll get at least a 1-2, if not a 1-2-3. I believe they got a 1-2-3-4 as well at one point over the season. But it doesn't last, and usually races 2 and 3 is where it kind of starts to slip away. So we'll see if it'll be a similar situation for them here tonight. Corentin Guinness still holding second. He's looking to try to see if he can't potentially go and take the points lead back. How eager is he going to be to duke it out with his teammate Carl Janssen?
Well, I do wonder what the policy is in-house at Coursim Racing. We have seen this many times now in race 1, strong qualifying positions and then very much an orderly flying formation in race 1, and then it's every man for himself really in race 2 and 3. But yeah, it's Coursim Racing will really be hoping that this pace really starts to pay off with the results, because really, if it was a championship just for qualifying in round 1, Coursim Racing would have it wrapped up by now as they come round to the final section of the course, and they're looking good for a podium lockout here in race number 1. Carl Janssen, the Super Sweden car number 92, followed by Corentin Guinness in the 333 and Kieran Harrison rounding out that podium lockout in the 93. Checkered flag raised on the flag stand, and it's going to be Carl Janssen winning again here in the World Touring Car Series at Barber Motorsports Park.
The core trio fanning out as they crossed our finish line. Lights are flashing for all of those drivers as already looking set for another strong day for Core Sim Racing. We'll see if Guinez will be able to maintain that momentum into races 2 and 3 in just a few moments as you watch the rest of the field start to come across the line.
So your winner in the AM class is the number 97, Jake Blackhall, in 8th position overall. That's a super run from Jake when he was followed very closely by Michael Polishek and James Corp in 3rd. So 3 AM class drivers in the overall top 10 out of our 35 car grid this evening. We had 32 on the grid, 3 starting from the pit lane, but a lot less attrition there, which I'm delighted to see after we saw at Donington Park a few weeks ago where it was just chaos, absolute chaos. Great to see a little bit less attrition there in race 1. Now it's time for the spinny wheel of joy or of doom, depending where it lands. This is what sets our reverse grid for race number 2. And what is it going to be? Oh, could be a big number here. Is it going to be 28? Is it going to be 20? The guys at the front will be hoping for 20. I think, is it going to stay? Oh, it's right. Oh, no.
I think 20, just barely.
20
yeah.
by a whisker. Well, that means then that Tom Dadswell will be your pole sitter for race 2. And, well, let's go through the results then after 14 laps of racing here at Barber Motorsports Park. It's a Core Sim Racing podium lockout. Carl Janssen, Corentin Guinez and Kieran Harrison rounding out the podium. Wojciech Savidovic, he tried his best to hold pace but came home in 4th, with championship leader Ross McFarlane in 5th. Jack Cedric was the first of the Hondas in 6th position, with David Baker in 7th. Then it's the AM Class Supremos. Jake Blackhall, your winner in that class, with Michael Polishek and James Corp all fitting into that overall top 10. Very impressive indeed. Fraser Smith was 11th in his trusty Audi, with Pete Newman in 12th, Mikael Garcia in 13th, Mickey Doble in 14th, and Michael Evdoka rounding out the top 15. Jamie Rushworth was 16th overall and 4th in the AM class, followed by Craig Williams, Neil Butler, Ben Gregory, and our pole sitter for race 2, Tom Dadswell. Unfortunately, that means that poor old Alex Neller, well, he just missed out by a whisker there. He will start from 21st, where he finished in race 1. Mark Fletcher was 22nd, followed by Danny Lee, Dean Powell, and Paul Smith in 25th place. Ashley Beard was 26th, followed by John Roberts, Dan Robbins, Simon Field, and Elliot Roberts. And last few then, Ellis Stevens, the last driver on the lead lap. Lee Berridge finishing 1 lap down, and then it was Dan Murray, Andy Shield, and Johnny Walker.
Tell you what, that was a very, very exciting race for race number 1. But at the same time, as close as it was, right, it was pretty calm, all things considered, especially when you take a look at how race 1s have gone previously throughout the season, right? I mean, we talked about Donington Park, that was complete carnage. The Red Bull Ring, that was exciting in of its own right. You have so many tracks that have just been complete madhouses. Barber Motorsports Park seems to be the race where things have started to settle down. Does that last, or is it the calm before the storm?
Do you know what? I actually can't tell, Nolan. I really can't tell. I mean, I think definitely the ears are ringing from the row. I think that the drivers, I think a message has been sent very loud and clear from the organisers that, you know, poor driving standards will not be tolerated. And this is something we've seen, you know, the last round of the World GT Championship, which we have here on RaceSpotTV on Monday nights. The last round of that was, you know, there was some really poor driving standards going on. So I think you have to, it's a whole picture, it's a larger picture than what we see here. And I think there's been a very stern word, and rightly so, from the organisers to say, poor driving standards will get you in trouble, and if necessary, we'll see you out the game altogether. And I think we saw some hard racing there, one or two big moves as we saw, but it's a tricky one because, as we talked about, Barber Motorsport Park by its nature, tricky to get overtakes done. And as we saw once or twice, does that mean that we're going to see more forced moves, or are we going to see drivers just accepting that that's the nature of the circuit? What do you think?
It's a bit of an interesting one because it's not just the touring cars that have a difficult time passing here, right? I mean, look at the IndyCar series. That is they've been racing at Barber Motorsports Park for years now, and even they, they can have some difficulty trying to get overtakes done. But of course, they also have the advantage of push to pass, slipstream, etc., etc., etc. You don't have any of that in the touring cars. You've got your right foot and your left foot, and then everything that's on the steering wheel, and that is about it. You don't have a whole lot that you can actually work with. So I think it's almost a bit more difficult to make overtakes in touring cars, so that makes a bit more sense, because you have to remember, they don't necessarily go fast enough where you can generate a whole lot of slipstream on the straights. They're just not long enough for that. So I think that is what is kind of making this a little bit of an interesting and a unique type of situation that these touring car drivers are having to deal with. It is, of course, a track that's unlike anything that they have raced before in the season. And I would dare to say this is going to be one of the harder tracks to overtake on the season, where it's not going to get physical.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. Well, a huge thank you to our sponsors of the World Touring Car Series, 3M UK, who've been a long-standing supporter of the World Sim Racing League Championships. 3M make award-winning race protective clothing, from fireproof suits, gloves, etc. as well. They also make equipment for the budding sim racer as well. So they even make particular designed sim racing gloves, which you can use on your wheel at home, and even very, very carefully, they have little bits of fabric on the fingertips, so you can keep them on and send text messages in between races, or work whatever your handheld device is as well. A very helpful little design feature as well. But if you're a go-kart or even an outdoor racer as well, 3M you can buy an off-the-peg design, or they can make custom suits as well. A lot of the British Touring Car Championship grid, they use 3M. They trust 3M to keep them safe and comfortable in the car. In fact, Nolan, actually, I was in Portugal at the weekend, and I was doing stage end reporting at the European Rally Championship in Portugal, and one of the drivers there, Alberto Battistoli, he opened the door, and he had a 3M suit on, and I was like, and gloves too as well, and he had it all in the Gruppo Battistoli colours as well. So no matter what your requirement is, 3M can sort you out.
Certainly can, and obviously great to have them on board for the World Touring Car Series as well. Good to see them delving into the world of esports, and hopefully we've seen them present in even more series as we get set to roll further into kind of the future things, and we'll see how things could play on out. So second race obviously coming on up. We were almost at the top 20 reverse grid, and that wasn't where I was on necessarily, was the 28 or the 20 at first. I was looking more at the spot that was right after it, the full reverse grid. Haven't gotten that so far all season long, but the possibility is always there.
Well, we had it at we had it at one of the recent rounds of the World GT Championship, a complete reverse grid, and yes, the results were kind of as expected, unfortunately. Now, we can see a few people joining us in the chat. Jonathan Walker from 3M says, "Let's go." Quite right. Alpha Racer 987, which interestingly 987 is a Porsche model nomenclature. That was one of the, I think it was the second generation Cayman, or even the first generation. No, second generation Cayman was a 987. He says race 2 is still going to be carnage. Interesting. Any race where Ben Gregory starts in the front row is bound to end in disaster. Well, we will have to wait and see, won't we? A little bit like an Alpha going on any more than a 100-mile journey is bound to end in disaster, or in a leak, usually.
Oh boy, we're throwing all the shade out there. There's not even an Alpha on iRacing yet.
Yes, we're not sponsored by Alfa Romeo, funnily enough.
I wonder
Beautiful
why
cars. Beautiful cars. It gives you a lot. When you're sitting at the side of the road waiting on the recovery truck, you can go, oh, what a pretty car that is. Whoa.
That's kind of what I've heard. Good cars, reliability might need a little bit of work. That's kind of the general vibe I've been getting from them. More of an Italian car, though, and obviously Italian cars, very flamboyant, most famously Ferrari. You got a Lamborghini as well. Porsche, I believe, is German, but it might be Italian. I need to brush up on my car manufacturers, though. And then, obviously, Alfa Romeo, one of the best when it comes to looks.
Porsche is very German. Yes, very, very German. Although there is a cool connection though, Nolan. On the Ferrari badge, the rampant horse. I can't remember what the Italian for it is, but the dancing horse, the prancing horse on the front of the Ferrari badge. There is also a very similar looking horse on the Stuttgart-Württemberg coat of arms, which makes up the Porsche logo. If you look at a Porsche logo, there is that same sort of prancing horse for different reasons. But so there is a connection, although they're in different countries. There is that connection, and of course, big rivals out there on track, the Porsche and Ferrari. Our drivers are now out in the warm-up session. They've got about 5.5 minutes of warm-up. And, sometimes when we see the track conditions change, Nolan, some drivers just prefer the warm-up session to go make a cup of coffee, have a bite to eat, a drink, get up and walk around, do a couple of stretches or whatever. And some really like to get out on track and get a feel for if the conditions have changed at all.
And it is a pretty hot track in comparison to what it was like in race number 1. It's 110 degrees Fahrenheit down there on the track at the moment for that warm-up session, which obviously relatively hot, which means we will be getting into a bit more of a slicker track. And you have to wonder, could this spell trouble for some of the drivers for our reverse grid? There you can see some of the track conditions out there at the moment. 19 degrees Celsius in the air, 44 degrees Celsius on the track. Very, very hot. You got 37% of humidity in the air. Fairly calm winds though, and still partly cloudy. So got quite a bit of sun beating down to the track. And as I say, that just jumped up by another degree Fahrenheit for the track temps. So track temperatures definitely seem to be on the rise as the event goes along.
And that's critical. That extra high track temperature is going to make the grip really reduce now for this middle race of the day. It's 12:05 in sim time. And this is the cool thing about the iRacing service. It replicates and simulates the weather conditions of that particular time of day and how that affects the track surface. And the track is ever evolving, and that excessively high track temperature is going to cause is certainly going to make it more challenging for the drivers, that's for sure. Hello to Cole Felix, supporting from South Africa. Fantastic. I tell you what, wouldn't it be great to get Kyle Ami on iRacing? That would be amazing. One of my favourite race circuits, of course, based in South Africa. A poor old Alpha racer, he's taken our jabs about Alfa Romeo in good spirit. He says that's mean, but probably fair. He says we need the Alfa Romeo Giulietta TCR car in ice racing. That'd be my car. Brilliant idea. I like that idea. Of course, won the Michelin Pilot Challenge race at Daytona. So it's a proper winning car and a beautiful machine as well. So great call there, Alpha Racer 987. Roger Room says, remember, Porsche is owned by VW. Of course it is. Has been for now about 10 years or so now. That's another that you could, well, there will be books written about that story of how that came to be, but that is another story, as they say. But yes, still of course a very German company as well, with being part of the Volkswagen group. 2 minutes and 44 seconds to go in this warm-up session. And then we will be ready to go racing for 20 minutes once again with our reverse grid. And of course, the reverse grids don't stop at the end of race 2. We go into race 3 with another spinny wheel to decide what the grid will be for that. But you can be sure it will be jumbled up yet again. Hello to Adam Hedgecock. He says, damn, I've missed the first race. How's it been going? All very civilised, Lord Hedge. All very civilised indeed, but that may be about to change, so do stay tuned, and good to have your company here on RaceSpotTV. If you're sitting watching, letting us know where you're watching from, who you're watching with, and most importantly of all, Nolan, this is very important, snacks. What race snacks have you got? You can't be watching racing without the snacks.
Well, I don't have any snacks today. From what I've learned in the series past, not a good idea to get snacks out, for me at least, for the World Touring Car Series. We're usually too busy just in absolute shock on what is going on the racetrack to be able to properly focus on that. But, you know, typically popcorn's not a bad idea. You know, maybe something like the occasional pizza that's out there. And those are usually the two go-tos. Those are the two things you can really just kind of eat while you're watching all at the same time. It makes it a pretty relaxing environment.
I like the sound of that. And well, what is it they say? Grab the popcorn when when things get spicy out on track as well. And that may well be the case in this second race coming up. For me, I have to say, if it's after dinner, some chocolate. I do like a bit of chocolate when I'm watching racing. That's good for that. And of course, it's Sebring this weekend, Nolan. I'm very excited. Sebring, it wouldn't be necessarily what I'm eating, it'd be what I'm drinking. I've got a brand new keg of Lowenbrow in my draft machine at home, so that will be getting extensively sampled throughout the weekend of Super Sebring.
So you said you prefer chocolate when it's after dinner. What kind of chocolate are we talking about? We're talking white chocolate, milk chocolate, dark chocolate?
Yeah, do you know, I quite like the Terry's Chocolate Orange. That's quite nice.
Oh.
Terry's Chocolate Orange is very good. White chocolate, yep, bit of white chocolate as well. You can tell I'm not very fussy. You can tell I've not been fussy. Oh my goodness, Nolan, we are worldwide now. Roger Rooms is watching from Kingston in Jamaica. How cool is that?
Oh, look at that. We do got people tuning in from all over the world. One of the beautiful things about sim racing, it really is one of the most accessible forms of motorsports you can find out there when it comes to the internet scene like this.
Yeah, that's what I love about sim racing too. It's for everyone all over the world, and if you want to come and take part, there's always fun to be had. Well, speaking of fun, we're about to go racing. Race 2 of the meeting here in the World Touring Car Series. This is round 7 of 12 of the championship, and we will have the grid for you in just a moment as the drivers complete the end of their warm-up session. And this is how they roll off. Tom Dadswell and Ben Gregory, they're your front row, with Neil Butler and Craig Williams on row 2. Jamie Rushworth and Michael Evdoka make up the third row. Mickey Doble, Mikael Garcia, Pete Newman, Fraser Smith, James Cork and Michael Polishek take you up to 12th. 13th will be Jake Blackwell, David Baker, Jack Cedric, Ross McFarlane, Wojciech Surdovich and Kieran Harrison. With our top two from race 1, Corentin Guinez and Carl Janssen. Alex Neller, Mark Fletcher, Danny Lee and Dean Powell make up the top 24, with Paul Smith, Ashley Beer, John Roberts, Dan Robbins, Simon Field and Elliot Roberts rounding out the top 30. And then it's Ella Stevens, Lee Berridge and Andy Shield. So just in the nick of time, the revs begin to rise, and we're about to go racing for the second time tonight here in Birmingham, Alabama. Green, green, green. Oh, it's a little bit of a steady getaway there from Tom Dadswell, and he immediately gets swamped by Neil Butler in the Audi, who gets into turn 1 and 2 in the lead. So really steady getaway there for Tom Dadswell. Look at Neil Butler, he's gone.
Clear by about 7 car lengths and extending that gap. What kind of a start was that from Neil Butler? He must have something going on in that Audi that nobody else knows about. That was by far one of the greatest starts we have seen from any driver all season long right there.
Brilliant getaway there in the old Audi there. Neil Butler as they head down towards turn 7 for the first time. Drivers jostling position but giving good room for now. This is where it gets tight though. This is where a little bit of order is required, and that's not order. Oh my word. Oh, we could have a big blockage here. Cars off everywhere. Oh dearie me. It's this corkscrew section has just been so difficult for the drivers, as one of the full send Hondas there has got its rear bumper hanging off. But Neil Butler still leads then. Dadswell probably furious with his slightly lackluster getaway on the charge now, trying to hunt down Butler with Craig Williams as Dadswell gets a big slide on. Craig Williams in the blue and yellow Honda there. He's in third. Great start from Craig.
So all of a sudden, the top 3 have almost nothing on the field. They are clear by several car lengths, and already you can already see the likes of Neil Butler, who is already going to be quit by over a second from just second place, 2.5 seconds from 4th place, the first driver out of the podium, and still double file down the pit straight here. You look at what the turn machine's to make contact with Alex Neller. Neller gets muscled out wide, comes back on, makes contact with the other turn machine. Dean Powell now gets muscled out, and Daniel Lee swinging it out wide from turns 2 and 3. Might be thinking about giving the spot back, but doesn't look like he's going to commit to it. Alex Neller going to be having to take that one back the hard way as they approach turn 5.
Alex Neller is certainly not making any friends tonight, that is for sure, in that boosted Honda Civic Type R. So it's AM class leader and overall leader Neil Butler, who leads by just over a second from Tom Dadswell. Then it's the first of the pros, Craig Williams of Craig's Setup Shop, one of our other sponsors here in the World Touring Car Series. Fraser Smith, he's up to 4th in his full send Audi. So we've got 2 Audis in the top 4. In fact, we've got all 3 manufacturers in the top 4 at this early stage. So it was Hyundai Elantra domination in race 1, but a much more mixed bag here in race 2 as Lee Berridge in his new Hyundai Elantra tries to spit it up the inside and then goes for the switch back there, and a little bit of a bump to the rear of one of the Craig Setup Shop Hondas, and backs out of it in the end. See who that was. It was Elliot Roberts, the 78 Craig Setup Shop Honda, as Neil Butler sets the fastest lap of the race, quickly usurped by Fraser Smith. Fraser Smith at 131.019.
You see Jamie Rushworth looking for the inside in his Pure Subs Audi, deeper on the brakes with a boosted Hyundai, and that's going to shove Berridge out wide, and coming back on track is James Corp, the full send Honda that actually got muscled out on the very first lap. And sorry, he's not coming back on track. He just exited pit road after having to take the tow back to the pit. So he is now back out on the race course. Look at Paul Smith in the Team Mad number 33 machine down through the hairpin, and going to be exiting out turn 5, hopefully with a better run, on the cars in front as he ride on board with Dan Robbins.
Yeah, Paul Smith making the switch from the Hyundai Elantra to the Veloster, hoping to change up his fortunes a little bit. He's had a tough start to this season, tough first half of the season, a lot of which just caught up in other people's incidents, but hoping to just get a little bit more of a smoother run heading through the second half of the season. But Neil Butler still hangs on to this race lead, but Dadswell is all over him there in the number 38 Hyundai Elantra, trying to just show himself in the mirror right then left as well. But got to be careful of Craig Williams in the Pro Class car. There he is, look at the blue and yellow Honda Civic Type R. It's almost got the kind of spoon racing Japanese touring car colours there on that machine. Fraser Smith, there he is, lingering in the background in the other full send Audi in 4th. So we could well get a bunch up, a 4-car pack at the front. I wouldn't say Neil Butler is the cork in the bottle yet, I wouldn't say that, but we could get to that point. Dadswell looking for his opportunity, and Butler goes hard to the inside, going very defensive. Dadswell's going to try and go the long way around and then try and cut back. No, and Williams tries to turn the Honda tight. Here we go then, down towards turn 7. Butler hanging on for now, just putting his Audi exactly where it needs to be. As Dadswell now looks to the outside, but there's just no way to get it done here as well. Mistake from Butler though. Great move from there from Dadswell. Butler gives him the room, very fair indeed. Gives him plenty of room, doesn't shut the door, and tries to get on the gas early as well as they go side by side, Nolan.
That was a textbook switchback from Tom Dadswell to make that thing work. Up and over the curbs at turn 10. Muscles Neil Butler out to the left-hand side. But the 16 car keeps his foot in it, and Dadswell's got nothing on Neil Butler up in front and continues to lead the way. That's the battle for not just the overall race lead, but the AM class lead as well. And right behind them, the battle for the pro lead. Williams has caught Smith and is looking for the inside in the second to last corner for the pro class lead. They make contact between the Audi and the Honda. Williams going to have to cut back through turn 15 onto the front straightaway. Is he going to have enough momentum though to carry him around to turn number 1? It's enough that the 167 goes defensive. Williams thought about it, but tucked it back in line, decided it wasn't worth it going for a move right there in turn number 1. So far, we have yet to see an overtake into turn 1 that has played out cleanly.
Yeah, well, that's what Fraser Smith, who was running in 4th, made his way up to 3rd position on that lap. did a really opportunist move as Butler and Dadswell were sorting themselves out. Fraser Smith just lit past Craig Williams. Great stuff as well. Butler again holds the inside line as tight as he possibly can, then runs it out to the curb, trying to cut the path down for Dadswell. But Dadswell all over the back of Neil Butler here as well. But he's got to try and make this move clean. You do not want to get caught up in argy-bargy and damage your car as well. Again, Butler covers the line very nicely indeed, and now Fraser Smith, he smells blood in third position there in that second of the full send Audi. So we've got Audi from Hyundai, from Audi, from Honda at the front of the field here. This is what touring car racing is all about. Fantastic stuff. Goodness, where's the last 7 minutes gone?
It has gone into the race, and I have to say, it's been a phenomenal race out of that. Definitely, the action has picked up so much more than race number 1, and I imagine the fact that we don't have a core 1, 2, 3 contributing big time to that whole mess. And you can tell that these two AM drivers in the lead are definitely holding up some of the pro guys like Fraser Smith, who wants to find a way through. But Smith is too committed. 3 cars all together making the exact same mistake. Can you say target fixation? All of them going off course at the same time. Smith had to go defensive into turn 1, but he was able to pull back up without losing the spot. Might lose it here though unless he chops in and chops off the nose of Craig Williams, who will have to settle for 4th place for the time being. Tom Dadswell's name moves up into turn 5 time and time again, lap after lap. This time looks for the inside, tries for the dive bomb. Too far back though, and the 16 of Neil Butler continues to cover him off. But that Altitude Esports Hyundai Elantra though, looking to get the run off. And could he have enough draft to make a move stick potentially into turn number 7 at the SS? Doesn't look like he will. It was so difficult to execute it past this track, but at turn 7 especially so. Didn't stop Dadswell from trying it earlier though. There's still time for him to try it again.
So an update on our front runners from race 1 and some of our championship contenders. Well, the cavalry is coming, that's what we can say. Carl Janssen from 20th on the grid. He's up to 8th already. Amazing driving from the Swede. We know how aggressive he can be and how assertive he can be in traffic, and really making full use of that flair in a real hard-fought race. So he's up to 8th. Ross McFarlane, your championship leader, as Dadswell gets into the back of Butler, backs off, and this gives Fraser Smith his opportunity as he hooks it around the outside. Dadswell just shoulder charge a little bit, but gives the room, gives the cards width. That's very firm, very fair. That isn't. A little bit of a nudge there from Fraser Smith as they head down into turn 1. Nolan said it's hard to get this done clean. He's absolutely right. Into turn 2 they go, and another hit again to the back of Smith this time. So, Dadswell's gone from 2nd to 4th in the case of a few corners. Craig Williams has said thank you very much. He goes up into 3rd. Doesn't quite have the grunt on the straight of the Hyundai though, but the Honda's very good in the handling department. There it goes. Look how tight he can get that car turned in, can Craig Williams, in that Honda Civic Type R. But it's now a full send Audi 1-2. So Fraser Smith, you've got to think, Nolan, is the danger man right now in 2nd.
Dadswell going side by side with Williams into the S's, and Craig Williams going to take the wise move there and back out. Didn't want to take any risks on losing any more spots than he already did. So Williams up to 4th, and you got Full Send Racing leading both the Pro and the AM races at the moment with a overall 1-2 for the team. So this is a dream situation for both Butler and Smith, especially if they continue to duke it out behind them as they have been so far. You saw just there, Quentin Guinez making the swap with Garrett Harrison for position as you continue to watch Carl Jensen make up ground. And there's a move for the race for 2nd place as well. Tom Dadswell looking for the inside in the final corner. No space though. The 167 of Fraser Smith holding strong, and now he's going to look to overtake his own teammate here and put the M-Class leader back. That was coordinated though. Neil Butler lifts off, gives Fraser Smith the space. If it can't be a 1-2, Neil Butler at least wants to make sure that Fraser Smith can get the win as he gets sent by Tom Dadswell through turn 2.
Yeah, Tom Dadswell kind of got a nose in there, and had enough of a nose in there early enough, and just maybe a little. You got to think there if Neil Butler just given a little bit more room, it actually would have made himself to his own benefit, and that little tap there has lost him a lot of places and put him right back into the real well, the real melee and the real fight. But Fraser Smith then leads here, but Tom Dadswell in the AND class, don't forget, he's in second place overall, and he is every bit the front runner here with keeping Craig Williams at bay, no problem, and in fact setting off in hot pursuit of our race leader Fraser Smith. But look at Carl Janssen there in the white and orange Corsim Racing Hyundai. He's up into 6th place, now trying to get a move done on Neil Butler, who might be a little bit flustered after that bit of contact there into turn 2. So Janssen, we know that Janssen, as soon as their gap, bam, he takes it. And here he goes, he's going to try and stick it up the inside here. No. Thinks better of it. Even for Carl Janssen, just can't quite get that move done just yet. But championship leader Ross McFarlane, he gave away a few points to Guinez in race 1, but at the moment McFarlane in 9th, Guinez in 11th.
And Jansen's going to make the overtake into turn 1. Neil Butler backs out early, lets Janssen run himself almost off and into the grass. But Janssen keeps his car just on the racetrack. Got one long train of cars from first place all the way back to about 17th. And all of these drivers looking to have a say in how this fight for the race lead in all these different classes could pan out. Looking for the inside. Michael Polishek up the inside of Neil Butler, and that will be Polishek putting himself up one position. Now, this is an AM-class battle, but they got a pro car in Ross McFarlane just in behind. Full Send Racing teammates looking to block the road, not wanting to let McFarlane through. Neil Butler has to brake early, but McFarlane's still in the McFarlane going to back out. And that gives Neil Butler at the position for now. That puts him down to 7th, though. McFarlane trying to see if he can't bump him down to 8th.
Interesting stuff there. Just at the beginning of this lap, Pete Newman for Pure Sims Racing allowing his teammate Ross McFarlane, the championship leader, to go through. Very clever there from the Pure Sims outfit. You have to play the game. If you've got strong cars up the front, you have to coordinate and try and maximize the team's achievements. And with Ross McFarlane fighting for the championship, it's a very important thing to do. And of course, don't forget, Pure Sims leads the championship as well in the teams contest. But oh, a little bit of contact there between one of the Corsim racing cars. I think that's Harrison and Baker there in the Hyundai Elantra. And now Jack Cetric's going to have a look there in the Honda, the yellow and blue machine. Oh, great move there from Cetric into turn 1. That's a proper deep breath in. Oh, and so we got a great view there from Wojciech Szywidowicz's Hyundai. So just under 6 minutes to go. Tell you what, Nolan, who said you didn't get good racing at Barber? This is super.
Absolutely superb racing. They're going to go almost 3 wide with Corentin Guinness trying to find the inside line. Neil Butler still playing the defensive game. Newman tried to find the outside line. I think Pete Newman might have been able to make that stick on the outside line, but when he saw Guinness shooting for the inside to make it 3 wide, it kind of scattered all 3 of them. That is what caused them to all have to back out. So Guinness seems to be stuck right around the top 10. He really does not seem like he's able to make any kind of moves further up the order, which has got to be frustrating to Guinness, considering he knows he needs every spot if he wants to overtake Ross McFarlane in the Drivers' Championship by the end of the night.
And this is a nightmare. You mentioned frustration. It's a nightmare there. Oh, Biff there. That's, dear me.
Still have one incident.
Jamie Rushworth getting taken for a ride, and you see the cars going off in the background. But yeah, you mentioned the word frustration. It's just spot on, Nolan. Is oh no, not in the don't rejoin like that. That's really silly. Whoever that was in the Honda. Oh dear. So
worst part about that,
Fletcher. Oh there.
The worst part about the turn 1 incident is, oh hello, Fletcher having another off. Oh, that's why you saw Fletcher off
got
into
helped
the barrier.
Big time there. Got really helped quite big. So that's, yeah, a lot of messy stuff going on there. That will be one for the stewards to kind of dissect. But coming back to Corentin Guinness, to talk about frustration, he's now, and he knows it, he's right behind Pete Newman, who is Ross McFarlane's teammate. And you've got to think that Newman will be making Guinness's life as difficult as possible to try and hold up the Frenchman, to try and allow his teammate to escape, and that is exactly what's happening. So Newman playing the team game here, well he was, but Guinness and Harrison have barged their way through. So great stuff from Guinness and Harrison, not easy to do that at all. Meanwhile, McFarlane's in 6th, and he's battling away hard with Michael Polishek, trying to get his way up into 6th position. And somebody off there, that's Fletcher. And the 111 Audi limping his way back after a really bruising day.
He was just pulling himself off the course, did not want to have any part in these battles. 3.5 minutes already left to go. Just the second race on the day. You can see the Pure Sims cars trying to see if they can't make some last-minute ground. Polishek and McFarlane, this is the fight for 6th. Trying to see if maybe Polishek can hang on against McFarlane. Is going to go for it into the final corner, but Polishek holds strong, not about to be intimidated. McFarlane have to try again another time. Behind them, Guinez finally finds the inside of Neil Butler, and he will take that spot away. So that is now Guinez up to 8th into turn number 2.
This is really superb driving from Corentin Guinez. I mean, it's not easy to overtake in this situation anyway, but to overtake your biggest rival's teammate, who no doubt is going to make it as difficult as possible for you to get by, even at the expense of their own pace. Guinez is driving beautifully, as is his teammate Kieran Harrison, right in behind him there as well, to move up into 9th position. So Guinez in 8th, Harrison in 9th. Right on board with David Baker, the ever consistent David Baker. He's in 13th. He's got Jack Cedric right in front there in the Honda Civic for Craig's setup shop. And then it's Pete Newman in 11th, 2 cars up ahead. Super motorsport here as well, but watch out for Carl Janssen. He's got the fastest lap of the race. He's up to 4th from 20th on the grid. As Dodgewell has a look now for the lead. This is Dodgewell for the lead. What a move! What a move there from Tom Dodgewell. Wow!
Dodgewell makes him work outside line for 11, gives him the inside for 12. Fraser Smith, though, not about to let him take it easily. Remember, this is for the overall race lead, but these are 2 different drivers in 2 different classes, and look at how hard they are battling with each other. This is only a back Fraser Smith up, and he wants to get by, because this means he has no buffer between himself and his other competitors in the Pro Championship, between Craig Williams and Carl Janssen right behind him. That's why he's so desperate to find a way past the Altitude Esports machine of Tom Dodgewell at the moment.
Tom Dodgewell, I mean, AM class, pro class, doesn't matter. That was move of the day there. I think he really kind of caught Fraser Smith, to be honest, caught him napping and just pulled off an extraordinary maneuver. And he did it clean as well. There was no argy-bargy. He slipped through just in the nick of time. Now, it's going to be very tight to see if we're going to be on the last lap now, or if we're going to go one longer. I think it's going to be very tight. We might well go one longer, as Ross McFarlane, well, he's under big pressure now from Corentin Guinez. This is big for the championship. McFarlane doesn't get the drive. Guinez does as they rush down towards the second half of the circuit. Ross McFarlane, he's got to keep Guinez at bay here to try and get some points back that he lost in race 1. And so we're going to see a battle. These are our 2 championship contenders. Ross McFarlane, your championship leader. Guinez in 2nd at the moment, and they're battling over 7th position. But don't forget, they started just inside the top 20, and we are going to go for that extra lap. We're going into overtime, Nolan.
Final lap, this time by just we hit 5 seconds left on the clock. And you can see Carl Janssen trying to find the inside in the turn 1 on Craig Williams for 3rd. And the 360 just manages to keep Carl Janssen at bay. Janssen thinking about the switchback, but there's no room. And I tell you what, Williams is doing a phenomenal job to keep Carl Janssen at bay. The good news for Smith in all of this, they've been spending so much time battling each other, he's not going to have to worry. There's the move of Janssen down the inside, trying to go for 3rd place once again on Williams. Doesn't manage to complete the pass. It'll be a heads-up fight down for the S's.
And just as we were doing that simultaneously, Fraser Smith took a big look down into the turn 5 hairpin as Craig Williams has to go super defensive as well. Janssen goes to tough it out. He toughs it out on the outside line. Craig Williams gives him room. He could have shoved him onto the grass there and didn't. Oh, and then gives him a car's width and no more. This is really good firm racing. So we've got 2 simultaneous battles on here. One for the lead, one for the last spot on the podium, and Janssen does get the move done. He does the Dodgewell and gets up into the last spot on the podium. But back at the front, Dodgewell, could he be able to pull off an overall win in the AM class as well as the overall victory? I think he might. He's got big traffic here from Alex Naylor. Alex Naylor on the racing line, a lap down. What on earth is he doing? Oh my goodness me, and I think Fraser Smith actually backed out of it there, out of sportsmanship. And yeah, Alex Neller's his copybook continues to be blotted tonight, I'm afraid. But nevertheless, what a drive from Tom Dadswell. It's so easy to forget he had a terrible start, did Tom Dadswell, and fought back. What a victory.
In the AM class, no less. I think that's the first time we've seen that all season, right? An AM class driver taking an overall victory on reverse grid, yes. But it is worth noting, like you said, he had a bad start and overtook several pro drivers to go for the win.
Amazing stuff. I think for me, that's got to be win of the season for me. Tom Dadswell in the AM class, fighting off the cream of the crop to win here at Barber Motorsports Park for Altitude Esports Sunday. Brilliant, brilliant stuff. That's what we come to see. And what a super race that was. It was clean, it was firm, it was fair. Fantastic. Oh, now, time for the spinny wheel. With thanks to FreeM and Craig's setup shop, this will set our grid for our third and final sprint race this evening. And goodness me, can we handle another jumble? We shall see. It's going to be 19. It's going to be 23. Oh, is it going to creep over? I think it might just be 19. Yes. So that means then that Jamie Rushworth will be our pole sitter for race number 3. But this is how they finish. Tom Dadswell for Altitude Esports in the AM class wins overall. Fraser Smith in second and Carl Janssen rounding out the podium. Craig Williams finished in 4th with Ben Gregory 5th and Michael Polishek in 6th. Championship leader Ross McFarlane just keeps his championship rival at bay. Corentin Guinez in 8th. Kieran Harrison in 9th and Neil Butler in 10th. Pete Newman was 11th, followed by Jack Sedgwick, David Baker, Wojciech Savidovic, Jake Blackhall, Mikael Garcia, Michael Evdoka, Ashley Beard and Jamie Rushworth will be your pole sitter for race 3. Lee Berridge just missing out. He finished 20th. Andy Shield was 21st, followed by Paul Smith, Simon Field, John Roberts, Danny Lee, Dan Robbins, Elliot Roberts, Ellis Stevens, Alex Neller, and James Corp. Mark Fletcher, Dean Powell, and Mickey Doble, they round out your 33 car finish. Whoa, deep breath. What did you make of all that, Nolan?
It's about what we've come to expect at this point, isn't it? We expect to see some thrilling action start to finish when it comes to these races, and sure enough, race 2 does not disappoint. I know one driver who's not going to be complaining about that reverse grid. It is going to be Jamie Rushworth, obviously now started on pole position. What really sucks the most is that Jamie Rushworth started 5th place in race 2, right? And then he got crashed out in the S's on the first lap. But the worst part about that whole incident, the car that got loose and turned him around was his own Pure Sims teammate, Michael Evdoka, really just really nailing it home just how unfortunate that whole incident was. When you get 2 Pure Sims drivers, which by the way are usually they're some of the best drivers you can find on the grid outside of the core trio, right? And they find themselves wiping each other out on the first lap.
Yeah, that's an awkward one. It doesn't happen very often, but when it does happen, a teammate on teammate action, it's always awkward. The thing also as well is that most of the time you'll see teammates actually connected by voice chat. That's one of the big differences between sim racing and outdoor racing. Outdoor racing, you wouldn't see drivers connected by radio, certainly not very often, or certainly not the norm anyway. But here in the sim racing world, they often are. So yes, that's must have been a little bit quiet and a little bit icy in the team voice room for a lap or two at least. But yes, we will be coming back for race 3 in a very short moment for you. 20 minutes of action as well, and I mean, yet another mix-up of the pack. We're going to see the championship contenders start from sort of 12th, 13th position, Nolan. So it's going to be tight. I mean, this could be pivotal for who comes out on top of tonight with the most points.
And all the while, you have an M-Class car, of all things, winning the overall race. That is almost unheard of. It makes you wonder, it's like, why are you not racing in the pro category? And why have we not seen this before? But it was like I mentioned at the top of the broadcast as well. Sometimes you get those tracks where you just shine. We saw that with the Core 1, 2, 3. We're able to just absolutely dominate race 1, leading that 1, 2, 3 trail with no changes for every second of those 20 minutes. And we almost saw it as well with Neil Butler and his amazing launch. And he even kept that lead for a good several laps as well. Looks like this just might be his track.
Could be. I mean, Tom Dadswell at the moment, he's running very strong in the AM Championship standings. We have seen it in the past where drivers do get bumped up from AM to Pro mid-season, depending on their performances. Will that be the case this time? I don't know. I mean, you look at Tom Dadswell, his I rating is 4,000. So he's a pretty handy driver, that's for sure. But, you know, lots of others in the AM class with a similar I rating as well. So you look at the Pro class, you know, Carl Janssen, 8,500. Kieran Harrison, 7,800. Corin Sanguinus, 7,800. So it gives you an idea of the difference between the AM and the Pro class as well. Again, huge thank you to our sponsors. First of all, Craig's Setup Shop. Now, this is a cool thing because here on the iRacing platform, the level of simulation is incredible, from the tracks to the cars to the racing as well online. But the cars themselves all laser scanned to be absolutely as accurate as possible to the real thing. And you can get into the garage and actually change the setup like you would on a real car. The only problem is, not all of us have a crew chief on the end of the phone. We all don't have a Rob Smedley on the end of the phone. So setting up the car to get the optimum performance could be a bit of a challenge. So go on to Craig's Setup Shop website, and they have setups for lots of different cars on the iRacing platform, lots of different circuits as well, and you can go on there, save yourself the time, save the hassle, buy a winning setup, and it will help you go faster straight away. It'll certainly help you sweat less inside your free sim racing gloves as well, which of course very good for wicking the perspiration as well. So Craig Setup Shop, go and check them out, go and support them as they support our great championship as well. Now, I have to say, Nolan, looking at the calendar, I didn't think we would have one of our most hotly contested overtake, filled races like we did here at Barber Motorsport Park. That's not in the script, but we saw it there in race 2, and I'm sure we'll get the same in race 3.
It was absolutely amazing, the type of races that we saw. I mean, we've seen races in the past, where we expect to see a lot of overtakes, and we do get a lot of overtakes. The Red Bull Ring, obviously, a very key track for that sort of thing. Interlagos was another huge one, right? Silverstone, you had Donington last week. Those are tracks where you expect to see quite a few overtakes. Barber Motorsports Park isn't one of those. So while we didn't get as many overtakes as those ones, it makes it that much more exciting at this track when you're not expecting it. And if there is an overtake, it is almost certainly going to be coming from somewhere just completely out of the blue where you wouldn't see it coming.
Yeah, we saw a couple of moves there, around the back part of the circuit coming through turn 11 and 12. We saw Dadswell pull off just a all-star move. Proper highlight reel stuff. One day we'll get sim racing to a position where that's on Sports Center in the morning. That was a Sports Center move there from Tom Dadswell. And then Carl Janssen pulled the same one on Craig Williams. So watch out for that turn 11, turn 12 switchback just coming in that last part of the section as well. Really interesting to see where some of the drivers have been making those overtakes count. On the flip side of that, Nolan, those who have tried to make it work at turn 7AB at the corkscrew, those have not gone quite so well.
Whether it's been gone well or not is certainly up for debate. There have been some overtakes where it has worked excellently, but it's usually not done in a very clean manner. And there have been other times where we've seen drivers backing off, and we've seen other times where if they don't back off, and you usually get about 3 or 4 others that just get caught up in the crossfire as well. It turns 7 to 7B. It really is a bit of a fickle corner that. It's one of those very one-line corners. It is very, very possible to go side-by-side through that corner. But it's only possible if you get two people that are side-by-side that want to go side-by-side through that corner. And if one of them doesn't want to go side-by-side, it'll get single file very, very quickly. You just might not find the car that was side-by-side on the racetrack anymore.
And we did see plenty of examples of that, didn't we? It was often where there certainly was one, if not certainly one loser, if not two, from those situations. So the drivers have now gone into the third and final session of the day. So they're just in their warm-up session. Now, interesting, a little bit more cloud cover here in this third session. If you're thinking, so what? Well, this is actually brought in, as we can see from our weather conditions in the bottom right of your screen, a reduction in track temperature. We've gone from 44 degrees Celsius on the track surface to 36. So that slightly cooler track temperature is going to give those drivers just that little bit more grip, Nolan.
Just that little bit more grip, and obviously that is going to mean we are in for, yet again, another absolutely thrilling race from start to finish. You know it's going to be making the track quite a bit more racy, and it could be we could be seeing a few more boulder movers as well. We talked about earlier about how we were very much an international broadcast, it seems, today, and well, that has only continued to expand. A shout out to Andres Bora, saying hello from Bogota, Colombia. So we got one person viewing us from Colombia tonight. Obviously, a PTG Warlock also from New York City joining us as well. So you've got people from all over the globe still looking to join in and enjoy some good old-fashioned touring car racing with us.
That is fantastic. So we've got Jamaica, we've got New York City, and we've got Bogota. That is very cool. And we've even got Scotland and British Columbia as well.
Absolutely.
Well, do let us know on our RaceSpotTV chat where you're watching from, how you're enjoying the action so far. Great to have so many of you joining us here on RaceSpotTV. And if you like this type of racing, well, do check out on Monday evenings, same time. Monday evenings we have the World GT Championship run by the same outfit, World Sim Racing Leagues, and well worth tuning in. Myself and Paul Smith taking through all the action there, and we're in the middle of a proper championship battle going on in that series at the moment, and that will be back on Monday. So do not miss it. Just under 2 minutes in this session remaining. This very quick warm-up before we go into the third and final race of the day here for round 7 of the World Touring Car Series from Barber Motorsports Park in Birmingham, Alabama. It's Peter Mackay here alongside Nolan Rempo in the RaceSpotTV commentary box. There's number 38, Tom Dadswell, who I'm sure will be pretty pleased with his night's work after an overall win in race 2, despite having the AM class number boards on the car. Now, a little bit of a fun fact for you about Barber Motorsports Park in Birmingham, Alabama. It's not necessarily a familiar track to us this side of the pond in Europe, but it was designed by Alan Wilson, and it was built to actually house George Barber's enormous motorcycle collection, which is still to this day the largest motorcycle collection in the world and lives at the circuit. So impressive is George Barber's motorcycle collection that it was actually exhibited at the Guggenheim Museum back in 1998. So some interesting heritage behind this particular circuit, and well, they picked two very well-qualified consultants to help with the design of the circuit. On the bike side, John Surtees, one of the best motorcycle racers ever to walk the planet, and Dan Gurney, likewise one of the best car racers ever to walk the planet as well. So there's real pedigree behind this place, Nolan.
I do love tracks like that have that very rich yet somehow humble history as well. The interesting beginnings, right? You know, sometimes you'll find these those people that just like to get out there and just build a racetrack, and that is all it takes. You just need that one guy with the idea to have a track to be built. Sometimes, though, like this motorcycle collection story, you don't even need the idea to build a track for the facility to certainly be there for something to be constructed.
Now with the international flavour is continuing, Nolan. We have B3RTN says he's watching from Tennessee. He's saying it's not as fancy as NYC. But you see, BARTN, you guys have got whiskey, and that wins every time. So, starting on pole position for this third and final round of the day here at Barber Motorsports Park, Jamie Rushworth alongside Ashley Beard. Michael Evdoka and Mikael Garcia are on row 2 with Jake Blackhall and Wojciech Swiatovich on row 3. Then it's David Baker, Jack Sedgwick, Pete Newman, Neil Butler, Kieran Harrison and Corentin Guinness. 13th will be Ross McFarlane, followed by Michael Polishek, Ben Gregory, Craig Williams, Carl Jansen and Fraser Smith, with Tom Dadswell and Lee Berridge rounding out the top 20. Then it's Andy Shield, Paul Smith, Simon Field and John Roberts. Then Danny Lee, Dan Robbins, Elliot Roberts, Ellis Stevens, Alex Neller and James Corp. They are the first 30. Just a couple more cars at the back of the pack there, but the revs are already rising. We're ready to go racing, and off we go. Race 3 is go here at Barber Motorsports Park, and Jamie Rushworth gets a perfect getaway with Michael Evdoka in hot pursuit, making an Audi 1-2 into turns 1 and 2 as one of the Craig Setup Shop Hondas goes off, and I think that was a spin from one of the core cars. Got caught up as one of the Hondas came back on there.
And all the while, it was Williams that went off, and he managed to somehow save that car. Ooh! And there's another car that's off. That's Elliot Roberts in the M class. So you got 2 Craig Setup Shop cars collected. Williams had an amazing save. Roberts, as it turns out, not so much.
Oh dear, oh no, and poor old, the 111, and the nightmare race for Mark Fletcher continues. Lap 1 not being his friend at all, but back at the front it's 2 Audis. It is the number 3 of Jamie Rushworth leads from Michael Evdoka. Jake Blackhall, he's there in 3rd position in the number 97 Hyundai with Wojciech Swiatovich. Good start from Wojciech. He's there in 4th. And David Baker in 5th, the ever-present David Baker, as they head up to complete the lap. And yeah, I think one of the Corson racing cars there did not come off well. Ross McFarlane is way down the order. He's in 27th, so problems for Ross McFarlane, the championship leader.
I think Ross McFarlane was one of the drivers that was collected up in that whole mess. So McFarlane definitely not going to be having a very fun time of his night. He'll be no doubt trying to see if he can't potentially improve on that as the race goes along. Here's a look at that very thick battle that was coming on down into turn number 1. There's a corn car. Look at the pressure on the back end of one of the Craig Setup Shop cars. That's Jack Sedgwick put under fire by Kieran Harrison. That is the battle for 9th place.
So on to lap 2 we go then as well. It's still Rushworth from Evdoka as one of the core cars having a look up the inside there. I think that's Kieran Harrison. Yes, it is Kieran Harrison. Can he get the move done? Sedgwick is trying to hold it out there on the outside as well. They go side by side down towards turn 7. Who is going to blink first? We know it's very tight here to go too wide here. And just little blink out there, little drop in internet connection from Jack Sedgwick. And Kieran Harrison very sensibly just backs off a bit there. So good racecraft there from Kieran Harrison, living to fight another day for the Corson Racing driver, and team champion of the British University Karting Championship as well around this week. So handy in the outdoor world as well as here in the sim is Kieran Harrison.
Up and over the hill once again through 14A, and then down the hill for 15. There's the side-by-side battle, which just got a bit physical between Polishek and Corentin Guinness. Guinness trying to find a way through and leans on the bumper of Polishek all the way through 15. Switches across, flashing the headlights, trying to find a way to the inside of turn number 1, but can't break deep enough. The 2 Hyundai Elantras evenly mashed up the hill and through the first set of corners. It looks as though Guinness might have a bit of a rougher time trying to find his way back through the order this time. Once again, it's a problem. Guinness just trying to break into the top 10. He can get up there, but he just can't get into there. It's so evenly mashed up there at the top grouping of this field, as Guinness going to have to hold firm, and Polishek continues to hold the 11th position for the time being.
Yeah, Corentin Guinness can afford to play this one a little bit more steady as Evdoka has a look No, can't quite get it done in that white and blue Audi. He's dropped back to second now as well, so it's Blackhall on the move. So again, the AM-class drivers, 1 and 2, the number 3, sorry, the pro. Now, we've got a slight issue on our timing screen there as well. Jamie Rushworth is a pro. So there goes one of the Craig setup shop cars, and then it's just a sandwich, and poor old Ross McFarlane, he's on the outside, and he's the last domino in the pile.
See Williams fishtailing left, right, and he manages to just keep his foot in it and keep it steady. And there was Elliot Roberts going into the outside wall as well. That was a brilliant save there, though, for Williams. That could have been much worse.
Yeah, if you're in a big moment in a front wheel drive car, just it's a bit counterintuitive, but plant your foot and it's more likely to sort of find its way back to the straight and narrow. As our race leader Rushworth sets the fastest lap of the race, immediately stopped by Mikel Garcia, immediately swapped by Harrison, and then again from Guinez. So the fastest lap of the race on the move, dancing up and down the timing screen. But Rushworth, although the graphic does show him as an AM driver, he is a pro, but Blackhall leading the AM class as well. And here comes Jake Blackhall. Now, his teammate there, Rushworth, left the door open big time. And Rushworth just allowing Blackhall mirror signal maneuver. Through he went. Interesting strategy there from the SimLab drivers.
You also saw the swap being made for third place. Switovich up and past Michael Daka. It was not without help, though, as there is Miguel Garcia in the highest up. Veloster at the moment trying to see if he can't catch up Daka as well. Miguel Garcia fighting for a top 5 position. Daka was in third place at the top of the lap, and now all the way down to 5th, about to lose 5th place as well. He can't get himself sorted and get back up there to help defend a Team 1-2.
Well, let's see what Wojciech Savidovic can do. He's up into third place. We know Savidovic is such an experienced competitor. So many titles in touring car racing here on the iRacing platform, I guess, across so many generations of machinery. And he's the man on the move at the moment, right there in third. Right, let's go look and see what happened to Dean Powell. Ooh, go! Whoa! That was nearly a 10-pin bowling accident there, but Powell manages to avoid, but kind of got a little bit of a help there, and his race falling to pieces quite early on, unfortunately. Is Jack Sedgwick still struggling with internet connection issues there as well in that blue and yellow Honda? Now that can happen occasionally in virtual motorsport. The driver in question won't necessarily know that that's happening, so Jack Sedgwick might not be aware that his internet connection is a little bit intermittent, although it's incredibly frustrating for the car behind because it's hard to judge where the car is. It's a little bit like people who snore. They don't know they're doing it, but it's incredibly annoying to those around them.
You can now see this long line of cars as Harrison fights against the full send number 16 Audi of Neil Butler, and the driver that was set to be on pole for race 2. Drop back, still mustered a top 10, but now defending a top 10 once again. Harrison trying to find a way through. Once again, Neil Butler not letting these pro drivers have it easily. Harrison finds the inside at 14A, but that puts him on the outside line for 15. Squeezes him in. There's a little bit of a rub, I think, but Harrison gonna be able to find the outside line through 15 and pulls it beautifully, putting Kieran Harrison now up into 7th place, and Neil Butler nudged down to 8th. Big Newman trying to have a run, and that's a move. Switovich under fire here. That's actually Jamie Rushworth that went off course. David Baker almost overtook him as well.
Yeah, I think there might have been a bit of contact there between Savidovic and Rushworth, and that's allowed Savidovic to get through. Now there's no cover for Jake Blackhall from teammate Jamie Rushworth, so Jake Blackhall out in the front of the pack at the moment in his Hyundai Elantra. The gap at the moment just 1.6 seconds. So Savidovic has now got clear air in front of him where he can push and try and close that gap down as this the battle roaring on now between Sedgwick and Guinez. Guinez not quite able to make the same progress his teammates been able to do. Look at Kieran Harrison, he's up to 7th already. So could be a really quite strong result here from Kieran Harrison, further hauling himself up the order. And of course, don't forget, 3rd place in the championship, Ash Sutton, he's not here this round.
True that. He is definitely not here, and I have to wonder why Ash Sutton is not present in this event. Whatever the case, we hope that Sutton will be back racing with us next week when we go racing at Sebring International Raceway. On board with the back of Jack Sedgwick, looking on at the drivers right in behind at Sedgwick. I think having his mirrors filled a little bit with Corrington Guinez. Of course, Sedgwick, a third car in line, and a scrap from about 8th place all the way back to about the 15th place. Now you look up to the Pure Sims teammate of Dalton Rushworth. They made contact in the very first lap of round number 2 after Avdaka got loose. Avdaka finds the inside at turn 5 and put himself up past his Pure Sims teammate, Jamie Rushworth.
Well, I'll hold the phone just yet. Rushworth might have a run on the outside line here, now heading for the inside to turn 7, but just blends out of the throttle and allows Avdaka to go through. As you rightly mentioned, Nolan, they are, of course, in slightly different colour schemes, but running out of the same garage. So Jake Blackhall still leads, and very confidently so, still holding a 1.5 second advantage over Wojciech Savidovic. So great run from the SimLab Hyundai driver. And if he can hold off an all-star like Wojciech Savidovic, he will be very, very happy with his day's work indeed. But Savidovic and indeed David Baker, they are on the move. It's been a good night for David Baker. More solid, consistent performances, racking up those points in that very colourful Knight Rider motorsport machine.
It's a very colourful machine indeed, and you still see drivers fanning out left, right, and center, some side by side, some trying to set up overtakes as Harrison backs off, gives Rushworth space to work his way through. How about outside line with the number 92 of Carl Jensen? Takes it away from Pete Newman. And Newman going to have to file himself down the hill and then back up and over the crest at turn number 4, trying to see if he can't hold on to a run. And there's some fierce battle going on up the road as well, as Harrison found the inside on Rushworth. You got yourself fights taking up all over the place at the racetrack. You almost don't know where to look.
You would need a lot of eyes, that's for sure, to keep on track of all of them. Our producer, Hugo Luis, certainly being kept busy tonight with all the action out there on track. 8.5 minutes to go. And, well, brilliant news coming in as well. Great to see. Big hello to Dan Holland. Dan, great to see you're home from hospital, and hope you're enjoying this fantastic action here at Barber Motorsport Park. We can't wait to see you back here and getting involved with us again here in the World Touring Car Series. But we send our very best wishes to you. 8 minutes to go. Jake Blackhall still leads. Wojciech Savidovic been able to snip about a 10th off as Paul Smith sticks it up the inside of Lee Berridge. Berridge just manages to hang on to it, and understandably aggrieved after that. Quite a whoa, wee dear,
whoa.
What's going on there?
I think he. What? That's
Stuck
a mystery
throttle?
to me. No, not a stuck throttle. That wheel jerked hard to the left.
Oh, okay. Well, Lee Berridge out of the race then. Not been a good day at all for the Boosted Motorsport driver. So, Jake Blackhall leads now. Savidovic is getting into his rhythm, starting to snip the odd tenths of few, and big dive there from Corrington Guinez, sticks it up the inside of Neil Butler. Butler decides, okay, after you. That was quite a big lunge on the brakes, but Guinez got it done clean, and he's just tucked in behind Jack Sedgwick, who's there in 8th place in that blue and yellow Honda. As Neil Butler, he really is in the very heart of the hornet's nest here.
It certainly is, and it is not a fun time at the moment for guys like Sedgwick and Guinez, who are trying to just make sure that they can keep it out of each other while trying to salvage a good position as well. And that's the fine line, right? How far do you want to go before you realize you might need to get a little bit more physical to execute some of these passes, especially with there being only 6.5 minutes left to go. Guinez looking high in a 14A. Sedgwick holds the inside of the Craig Setup Shop Honda, and Guinez not able to get the inside line through 15. So Guinez going to have a rough time trying to keep things shorter, trying to get a run. But the problem is, once again, you don't really have a whole lot of straights long enough on this track where the draft is really all that effective. You have to rely on getting better runs out of these corners than the guys in front of you.
So if I was the Core Sim Racing team manager right now, I'd be on the radio to Corentin Guinez saying just take it easy, don't take any unnecessary risks, because the championship leader, Guinez's closest rivals, Guinez looks to the inside. Cedric leaves the door open, trying to get that early throttle on as well. Guinez gives him a little bit of a nudge, and again, this is really heavy-handed from Guinez, and you know that Jack Cedric, he will not take that at all as they go side by side down into turn 7. This isn't going to end well if they try and do this as well. Cedric bumps it out, and Guinez doesn't need to get himself in. Oh, what is he doing?
That is retaliation in its finest.
That, it's one of the, oh dear. So Cedric off.
Unbelievable.
Oh dear. Now, it all happened so fast there. That has major championship implications, because if Guinez kept it clean there, he was going to take a huge haul of points over Ross McFarlane, who currently sits in 19th place. But Guinez, you've got to think, Nolan, with what we saw of why Dan Rowbottom was parked and why Ollie Peacock was parked, you've got to think that Guinez will be getting a very close look from the stewards after that one.
It's worth noting that that wasn't any ordinary nudge, as we've seen previously, right? That definitely would have given him a slowdown penalty, because he definitely cut turn 7A. Take another look at this one here. Watch this. All 4 wheels off. That's a slowdown penalty, and right after just drives right through. I mean, I'm sorry, but that's really almost inexcusable.
I agree with you, Nolan. Yeah, 100%. That's just, full throttle to the quarter panel. There's only one thing you want to happen when you do that, and that I would think will be looked at pretty dimly. But that's not our job, thank goodness. I would not want that job, never in a million years. And what a pity, because that really was a strong battle going on there as well. So Guinez still, now where has he gone in the order? He's in 9th, so he's still holding his position. He'll score the points for now, but I suspect, Nolan, when we come back in a week's time, we could be having a discussion. Now this is going to give us a great look. Now, to be fair, it was maybe just run out a little bit by Cedric, but that's pretty damning evidence there, I'll be honest.
You got to be the bigger man, right? You can't let emotions get the better of you, especially when you got a championship on the line. We saw this bite Robot, we saw it bite Peacock when they both got parked for not 1 but 2 weeks, which will effectively end any championship hopes that either of them had. And if the same situation happens here for Guinez, this could potentially end Guinez's run of the title.
Certainly make it more difficult, but who knows? You never know. It could be that, the organisers see it a different way. They'll look at it very carefully. They'll look at the throttle traces, the brakes, everything. So let's wait and see. But yes, potentially that has big championship implications. Back nearer the front, Wojciech Savidovic and David Baker battling over 2nd position. And this is Christmas Day, birthday, Christmas Day, and, well, everything else put together for Jake Blackhall, because the more that Baker and Savidovic battle with just 2.5 minutes on the clock, their chances of victory go out the window, and Blackhall can cruise to the flag.
And of course, he would become the 2nd AM driver today to be able to pick up an overall win for the AM category. That would just be absolutely legendary stuff for him, as you can keep an eye on David Baker. You ride on board with the back of Swirdovich, trying to keep David Baker. Semper versus Pure Sims. You have to wonder which one could come out on top. Both of them pro drivers. Both of them fighting not for the overall race lead, but certainly for their class lead.
Yes, that's right. The AM class winner. Goodness me, 2 out of 3 races. We're going to have an AM, well, looking like we could have an AM class winner overall. Or AM class driver winning overall, more accurately. So, how will it turn out? Kieran Harrison, he's got himself up into 4th as Guinez takes a look up the Janssen, my apologies, has a look up the inside of Rushworth in the number 3 car. Guinez back into 9th now after that little skirmish with Sedgwick. We are going to go into overtime again, just like we did in race 2. We're going to go just over the line with a few seconds to go, so we'll go a whole lap longer. So hope the drivers have all got enough fuel on board as Janssen goes around the outside of Rushworth, and here comes Guinness, who's going to try and get the run as well. Janssen just goes back to the racing line, then realises he maybe should be giving his teammate a tow as they go through, and Rushworth doesn't fight it. He just says, you know what, this is good enough for me, I'll take these points. And Janssen and Guinness go through, so up to 7th and 8th for the Core Sim Racing pair.
Solid overtake there from both of those drivers to pull that off, and they get set to start the final lap this next time by, and this is where it could get a bit more spicy for a few of these battles that have yet to be decided. A good number of the fights in the top 10 have been decided, right? I mean, Jake Blackhall set for a win, as that was Fraser Smith just hooking one of the Pure Sims cars. And that, I believe, was Pete Newman that Fraser Smith kind of got into, and Tom Dadswell nearly followed him through and made the same error.
Yeah, that was a close one as well. Newman hung on there as well as the white flag in the air to start the final lap here at Barber Motorsports Park. What has been a super round of the World Touring Car Series, round 7 of 12, and it's Jake Blackhall who leads another AM class driver, leading the way overall by 1.6 seconds. He's got 2 All-Stars behind him, Savidovic and Baker, and he's kept them at bay. He's kept that gap in at this SimLab Hyundai Elantra. This number 97 car has looked so supreme, so strong in this final race of the day, and made full use of that strong grid position as, a little mistake there for Savidovic. Stepped onto the grass as well, but just held on to it as well. Can David Baker get the 2nd position here? So that call then, 1.6 seconds the gap, and it looks like it's going to be enough as they come into turn 11 and 12. But can Savidovic keep Baker at bay? I think he's maybe just got enough in hand. If he can hit his apexes here, hold that line. But really, the star of the show here in race number 3 for Pure Sims SimLab number 97, it's Jake Blackhall, the winner at Barber Motorsports Park.
And becomes the 2nd AM class winner on the day to win the overall race as well, and the 2nd time that has happened on the season as well. Oh, they're wrecked on the start-finish line! It's a huge crash! Full Send Racing and Pure Sims come together in a big way. Pete Newman taken out. Polisek also gets collected. Looks like it got physical in the final couple of corners, and it all came crashing down. Tom Dadswell, I think for altitude, just got caught up as an innocent bystander in all that mess.
Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Yeah, it's a little bit of a last gasp dive there coming out the last corner. A lot of cars with big damage. Wow, well, we'll get a confirmation of the results of how that all shakes out. But one thing we can tell you, Jake Blackhall, what a superstar. What a superstar, what a drive. Along with Tom Dadswell, 2 AM category drivers winning overall here in the World Touring Car Series. Absolutely superb stuff. So, this is your results then. Jake Blackhall, your winner by 1.7 seconds from Wojciech Savidovic and David Baker. Kieran Harrison, good night for the number 93 Core Sim Racing driver. He came home in 4th in the final race. Michael Evdoka was 5th. Mikel Garcia in 6th. Carl Janssen in 7th. Corentin Guinness, championship contender, in 8th in controversial circumstances. Will that incident with Jack Sedgwick come back to bite him in the stewards room? Jamie Rushworth finished in 9th, and Neil Butler, a good day for the Majors Garage Audi driver, in 10th. Fraser Smith was 11th, followed by Alex Neller, Ben Gregory, Paul Smith, and Tom Dadswell. Ross McFarlane, after getting really toughed out in the opening couple of corners of race 3, he could only manage 16, so not the haul of points the Scotsman is used to. Craig Williams was 17th, followed by Simon Field, James Corp, and Mickey Doble. 21st was Andy Shield, followed by Danny Lee, Dan Robbins, Pete Newman, Jack Sedgwick, Ellis Stevens, Dean Powell, John Roberts, Michael Polishek, and Ashley Beard round out your top 30. And the last few not making the flag, Lee Berridge, Elliot Roberts, and poor old Mark Fletcher, a day to forget for the Altitude Esports Audi driver. Kieran Harrison getting that fastest lap of the race. Well. Nolan, where to begin? We had everything tonight at Barber Motorsport Park.
I don't know where to start. I really don't. It was just an absolutely unbelievable event. You had drama left, right, and center, but I think one of the biggest stories on the day is two AM drivers, for the first time all season long, taking home overall race wins. That is something that borderline is unheard of in the series. Yes, we've had plenty of times where AM drivers start on pole, but usually pro drivers will filter through to that position within about 5 to 10 laps, or 5 to 10 minutes or so. We, of course, have had drivers that have finished on the podium in the AM class, but only in the reverse grid starts. Never seen them on the top step, and I'm glad that that is a trend that has finally been broken. That is absolutely amazing.
Yeah, it really has, and I think this is the great thing about motorsport, and actually the great thing about when you have multi-class racing, whether that be multi-class cars, like having prototypes and GTs on the road at the same time, but having a class driver-based system is really good, because you get these giant killing performances from time to time. And you know, a class win is great, but when you're in the AM class and you win overall, wow, really impressive. And those drivers are going to be they're going to be going home tonight. I don't think they're going to sleep tonight, actually. They're going to be so excited with that. So well done to them, and well done to Kurt Jansen as well. A flawless drive in race one. That seems like a lifetime ago, Nolan, that Coruscant Racing demolition in the opening race.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, Coruscant Racing, of course, has always been strong in the opening races. They usually win. They usually have a 1-2. 1-2-3, not so common. They certainly are looking to set a new trend, though. And if they can't win the Drivers' Championship, then who knows? Teams' Championship, still very much in the works, especially if they can continue to put forward some good performances like that.
Absolutely. Well, I tell you what, I am raring to go for this second half of the World Touring Car Championship Series. We will be back here on RaceSpotTV the same time next week, 7:45 UTC, and we go to Sebring, the bumps of Sebring. Oh, I cannot wait. Thursday the 24th of March, not one to be missed. Myself, Peter Mackay, and Nolan Rempel will be here with all the action. Don't miss it. Good night.